Welcome to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. I am your host, Chad Hufford, and this is the podcast where we celebrate the unsung heroes of the working world. Each week, we dive into the incredible stories of honest, hardworking folks who have found financial success through grit, determination, and good old-fashioned elbow grease. So if you're ready to be inspired and learn how to turn your hard work into your own success story, you're in the right place. This is the Blue Collar Millionaire Show.
All right, welcome back for another episode of the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. This is a special one. We're doing a couple episodes, you and me, Greg and Logan here. So we've both helped out with co-hosting the show. Yep. We've never interviewed each other, and this really isn't going to be an interview. This is going to be something very different, but I think it'll be really powerful to dive into a couple topics that we both care a lot about over these next few episodes. But first and foremost, this episode, I wanted to highlight a little bit of backstory on why both you and I came to Veritas, what that path looked like. Because, there's 11 of us here at Veritas. We all have our own backstory. But I would venture to say you and I have some very kind of an odd pathway to get to a financial management firm.
Right.
Shane's story is pretty unique, right? Chad's story is unique as well. But I had zero interest in working for a wealth management firm.
Is that right?
Yeah, never was interested in that. Certainly wasn't on a path to working for a wealth management firm. You had a very different backstory than I did. And yet, you weren't working your way up at some other financial firm or anything. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit.
I'm excited about that. So when did you decide that you wanted to be a member here at Veritas, somebody that works here?
A member. Ooh, so prestigious. Honestly, it wasn't something that I ever wanted to do, which might sound really bad because my oldest brother started Veritas, right? And I was always really proud of him, but it just wasn't interesting to me. It wasn't something that grabbed me. Finances is not something that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about helping people. I care very deeply about helping people. As you know, and I've shared openly on the podcast and some other venues, a lot of my life has been built around recovery, addiction recovery for almost a decade now. And that is actually that was the pathway for me to come here way more than my professional background. I worked in the car business for 10 and a half years, and I had, people talk about golden handcuffs, make too much money, but you're chained to that thing. That's all you know. And that very much was the case, but it was also just an extremely toxic, really, really unhealthy, non-family friendly environment. And so the opportunity to come to a place that would be a healthy environment, that would not have the same stressors, 70, 80 hour weeks sometimes. It was ridiculous. That is what made me want to come here, which might sound, again, kind of bad. It's I didn't want to come here because of Veritas. I wanted to come here to escape something.
Gotcha.
It was like getting out of prison.
Sure. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you do here now?
Yeah, because that's evolved a lot, right? I've been here for 4.5, coming up on 5 years now. When I came on, it was specifically and only to be the Ramsey coach. For anyone who doesn't know, so we've had an affiliation with Dave Ramsey for a long time,
right?
On the financial management side, right? Managing investments, retirement plans. And what we hadn't done was the coaching. If somebody just wanted the accountability around their personal finances, but they weren't in a place to, do any long-term investing.
Sure.
Chad and the guys couldn't really help those folks other than just pro bono work. But it wasn't part of the business model. And so I was brought on to offer the Ramsey coaching. And I still actually do that, but I've moved much more into most of my time and energy is spent doing the PR and marketing and basically building our relationship as Veritas with the community, whether that's clients, prospective clients, small businesses, nonprofits, all that kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm like rambling. But your question, I don't feel like I did a good job answering.
Yeah, no, I think you did. So the transition then from working in the car industry to working as a financial coach, and even into what you're doing now, what has that transition been like for you and for your family?
It's been gigantic and it's been awesome. I mean, for my family, like there's going to be people listening that probably can appreciate this, even if nobody listening is in the car business, because if you know what it is to work, 60, 70 hour weeks, and work through the weekends and, work at night and all that. I had to do birthday parties on like a Tuesday afternoon sometimes because that was my day off. Or, maybe it was on a Saturday, but I wasn't there. It was my wife and kids doing the birthday party and I was at work.
Sure.
Couldn't consistently go to church. All kinds of things. So being able to have a Monday through Friday schedule where I can be home for dinner, where I can have coffee, with my wife in the morning, take my son to school, like that stuff is crazy. I never had any of that. So that's been awesome. But it's also been really, really great to be out of the car business environment. I don't shy away from the fact that like I felt like when I was in the car business, because I did hold myself to a standard of integrity with how I treated people. And yet I absolutely felt like I was a dealer who was going to make sure your needle was clean. Which really? That's a really sucky way to think about your career, but that's how I felt. It's like, all right, like you're making a bad decision. You're buying something you can't afford. You shouldn't be doing it. All right, well, I'll try to like get you the best rate possible on this terrible loan that you shouldn't be having because you can't afford it.
Right. Well, and then you got to go into a job where you're really actually helping people.
Right.
And then even in the marketing and PR, I mean, it aligns with helping people even still, because you're really reaching out to a lot of people that otherwise might not have ever heard of Veritas or heard of a retirement plan or why they need to have a retirement plan, all of those different things. So that's a huge, crazy transition that you had.
No, it is. And I will always be grateful. Like I thank God for this opportunity. I'm grateful to Chad, my brother, my boss, owner of Veritas for the opportunity to transition out of that environment. And it's been incredible to work with you and other folks. Cause like when I came on, I was one of only a handful of people. I mean, we're still a team of 11 and yet, we were a team of 5 when I started. Right. So the growth has been pretty crazy.
You bet.
Which is good because I'm a people person. So like, I hear the old stories of like how it used to be with Shane and just like just Shane and Chad and Lindsay and like nobody else in the office. I'm like, I couldn't have done that. I got to like walk around, talk to people.
Sure.
Because I was in the car business. I was in a dealership where there'd be, 80, 100 employees. I'd like swimming in people.
And people just coming through all the time.
Right. So that's been a weird thing, but I got to be around the people. Okay. So I want to ask you, and like, this is not a staged conversation other than, we're recording it. Like, I actually do want to know, because you've told me about your background. You've had lots of conversations, spent lots of time talking about different things, but just like map out your background, because I kind of know what it is, but I want to hear it from your mouth. Like, what was your background professionally before Veritas?
Yeah. So I'll start with back in high school then.
No, go back to birth.
Back to birth, starting right at the
Go back to the 80s.
Okay. So in high school, 2 different things happened at the exact same time, which was kind of neat. I took a welding class, and my family did the Dave Ramsey course. What's it called?
The Financial Peace.
Yeah, the Financial Peace University course. And so we did those fairly.
Is this a paid advertisement? Right
now? No, actually, it's not. Okay. So we did both of those things at the same time. I started to learn how to weld, and I also started to understand a little bit more with my parents.
And you're like 15?
Yeah, I think more like 16, 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
About, saving money, living below your means as far as what you're earning for income versus what you're spending, and not accumulating debt and all those types of things. So those happened when I was pretty young. But then I got out of high school and then went to UAA, and I spent 2 years in their welding program at UAA. And then for the next 18 years, I worked as a welder in many different places around the state.
Dude, you're old.
Right? So, and then starting in 2012, I knew that was something that I didn't necessarily want to do forever anymore.
Why?
Welding is, it's a phenomenal career. It really is. It afforded me a lot, especially because I didn't accumulate a bunch of debt. So nothing wrong with the career, but I knew that it was, I worry a lot about my health and those types of things.
Okay. So it's like the physical.
Yeah. It's just physically, you're around smoke all the time. And I tried to do a good job of wearing a respirator, but it's one of those things that I started thinking about back in my 20s, right? And so I knew that I wanted to start to get out somehow of that industry. And so I started working more towards, I started doing welding education and teaching, but it was around that time, 2012, that I actually met Chad, your older brother. And we started having these really great conversations about his industry, which is this industry now.
Right.
And so,
So at that point, he would have 5 years in.
Yeah. He was pretty new.
And there was no Veritas, I don't think. I mean, there definitely was no logo.
I don't think so.
He didn't have an office like this. He would have been working a dinky little office over a few blocks away.
But am I mistaken? I thought that he was working at his house for a little while.
Originally starting out.
Yeah.
So maybe it was around that time.
Yeah.
But early on, he had just a dinky little office over on Laurel.
Okay.
And then he had another one just a block away. And that's the one we moved out of 4 years ago. And then we've been here for a few years.
Okay. So I think it was back in kind of its infancy back then.
Did not think it was going to be growing to what it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then really through Chad's tutelage and pouring into me, I started reading. I said, Chad, I think I want to do what you do. And he was like, okay. So he gives me this book list. I'm like, are you serious?
Sounds like Chad.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's a lot of reading, Chad. So anyways, end up making it through his book list and getting through all the testing that we have to do. And
wait, when did you test?
I want to say I tested in October of 2021.
Okay.
And then I started here.
The way you said it at first, I thought you meant you did your testing back when you first met Chad.
No. It took a long time. It was
long
years of
process of relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then 2021 I did my testing, and in 2022 is when I first started here at Veritas. But when I started at Veritas, as you know, I worked both jobs at the same time. I was still teaching welding for a high school here in town.
Right.
And then I was welding on the side. And then I was also working here at the same time. So I was working kind of several jobs at once until I made the move full time over here.
Okay.
Little over a year ago.
Dang. Yeah. I mean, and we met before you had come on, but then really didn't get to know each other well until obviously, makes sense. And until you were working at Veritas, and then it's been awesome having you around full time because we pair up nicely. And one thing I do know about you, and I mean, I think one of the reasons why we got close early on is because I could, even though I didn't know your full bio, maybe I got to see your heart. And Dave Ramsey uses that phrase, heart of a teacher, which I think that phrase gets thrown around a lot. If you watch Dave Ramsey's stuff, if you follow him on social media, Chad talks about it. And it's not that it's bad to throw it around, but sometimes it gets kind of watered down, I think.
Certainly.
Because not every person who is wise with their finances is going to have a heart of a teacher.
Sure.
I think Veritas as an entity, if a company can have a heart, which I think it can, then I think Veritas has the heart of a teacher. But I'll say it, I think that is manifested in you as much as any single person here.
I appreciate that.
Which is cool because I think that obviously is why you were so driven to not just to be a welder, but to educate.
Yeah.
I mean, you've told me about some of the stuff that you did where you weren't even making money because you were pouring so much into education. Right. Outside of the school district. That was a business that you started, right?
Yep.
To educate others. And it's cool because I mean, I see it play out, if not every day, every week for sure, as you're talking with clients. And
yeah, certainly, you know, one of the things I really love about this job isn't just, you know, necessarily just helping the people that we get to help, right? But it's also the education that we get to, you know, pass down to everybody that walks through the door, whether they work with us or not.
Right.
They're going to at least, my hope is, they're at least going to leave with a level of education to where they are able to make maybe at least a little bit better financial decisions moving forward. And again, that's regardless of if they become a client or not.
Yeah, I think it's a cool thing that, like, Chad's done a really good job building this. Veritas, we are, I think we all feel very equipped, very empowered to be able to help folks, even if they don't become a client.
Right.
And, you know, I try to help us do that in the way of workshops, right? And getting out in the community, doing financial workshops and seminars and things like that. But yeah, somebody may come in for a consultation with myself, you know, on the coaching end, with you on the advisory end, may never speak to us again. But if, and this has been drilled into all of us, like if they spend 30 minutes talking to us, that may be the first time anyone has ever sat down to vulnerably talk finances.
It's a big step,
minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something that, you know, I've mapped out these couple episodes we're going to do together. The next one coming up, we're going to really dive in on that, of some of the vulnerability that exists, the roadblocks that people have to sit down with an advisor or a coach, to sit down with somebody, right, and vulnerably expose themselves and talk about all their stuff, right? Which, and you know, I said earlier, recovery was my segue into Veritas. Way more than anything professionally was my segue. And that's kind of what I was alluding to there is, you know, in recovery, I mean, I learned a lot, but above almost anything, recovery taught me the power of being vulnerable, right? And the power of seeking help and seeking guidance. And that's why I love what we do. That's why I love what I do. I love seeing it in you and the other advisors, but we all get to play a part in it, which is helping folks change the trajectory of their lives.
Yeah, it's huge.
When I meet with somebody for coaching, I've never actually said this to somebody else at Veritas, so hopefully I don't get in trouble, but like, I don't tell this to everybody, but I've said it many times. If you work with me as a coach and you improve your finances because of healthier habits, but your life goes downhill, I don't see that as a success. Like, that's not what I want for you. I don't want you to hire me if all you want me to do is help you save some money every month.
Right.
If I'm going to speak into your life, I'm going to try to help you have healthier habits, right, healthier mindsets, working on being a healthier human. And that's that's the recovery, you know, there's like, that for me is a part of my soul. And so like, it's going to bleed out into everything. And it's been awesome being a part of a company that allows me to do that. Yeah, because both of us, our daily lives here at Veritas look different. I mean, there's a lot of crossover, but we also have different titles and we do different things, but we're able to do that, right? And come alongside people, speak into their lives, hold them accountable, be encouraging, and help folks get healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, that's a big part of what we do. And that's a part of the culture that Chad has cultivated here at Veritas, is that we don't just want to see the retirement plans grow. We don't want to just see the money, although we do, right? We do want to see people saving money, and we want to see the investments growing. Furthermore, we want to make sure that people are living fulfilling lives. Right. And so we're going to ask questions that are maybe a little bit different than somebody expects from a financial advisor, or from a financial coach for that matter. We're going to ask questions like, what does, if you were to retire tomorrow, what does your day look like? And really push back if that answer is, well, I'm planning on just watching football every single day for the next 40 years until I pass away. It's like, no, I think that you were designed and made to live for so much more than that.
Right.
So anyways, yeah, I really appreciate you asking questions about where I came from. And it's been a great journey to get here, and just love helping people, and just working here is, I think, taught both of us just how much we enjoy that.
What has been one of the most surprising things since you've come on to Veritas? What's been one of the most surprising things that you really weren't expecting?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Okay.
We didn't prep for this.
Yeah.
So hit me.
I think one of the surprising things is that I've seen people that are extremely highly educated, super, super knowledgeable in their particular career fields, make just exorbitant amounts of money and can still fall into the same traps as, the people that I worked with for so long in the blue collar industry, right? Make a whole bunch of money, but feeling strapped every single day of their lives because they're bound by debt so tightly.
Right.
And then on the contrary, though, and that's why we have this podcast, the Blue Collar Millionaire Show, seeing people that have never earned a huge amount of money, but have these retirements where they're able to just go and do just amazing things. It's just incredible. Yeah. So I think that's probably been my biggest surprise. I mean, I knew that existed. I'd seen, like, you always hear the story of the NBA player that lost a whole bunch of money or whatever.
Right.
But actually getting to see that, it's more common than you would expect.
Right.
And so that's been the biggest surprise for me, is seeing, people where I see how much they make, and then seeing how much, that they're scraping by with because everything's going to payments.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Well, I can tell you 9.5 years in recovery, bad choices are no respecters of person. I mean, anyone is capable of making the worst choices possible.
What about you? What's been
the most surprising things since I've come on?
Yeah.
This might sound like the lamest answer, but it's honest. I did not realize how much relationship was involved in being a financial advisor. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, never have been, don't plan to be. But I literally thought that it was, you're just a nerd. You're like a dweeb behind the computer, picking stocks and, making sure that I'm going to contort this portfolio. It was like, no, like you understand things and you're making sure that people are wisely invested and all that. But it really is, the vast majority is building a relationship and having the accountability with the client, making sure that they're on the right track, coaching them up. That I really honestly did not expect that. And it's been a really good surprise, because I thought I was going to be surrounded by a bunch of numbers crunchers. Like, well, how am I going to fit in there?
That always say no.
It's just like that's not the case.
Right. Yeah, no, it really is. And, that's, now that you say that, that's been a big surprise as well, is just how much of a relationship I've built with some of my clients. And I think that they always expect to call me and to hear me say no when they ask a question. I had a client that said,
like, giving permission.
Yeah.
To spend money?
Oh, okay. And so I had a client that called me. He said, "Hey, Greg, can I afford to buy this piece of property up in Eureka?" And so I look at all of everything he's got. I said, "Yeah, absolutely, go for it." And he was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I thought you were just going to say no." I said, "Should we go look at the piece of property together?" And he was like, "You do that?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So we went and looked at this piece of property that he ended up purchasing, and he's been building out over the last year. Cool. And it's been really cool. Yeah. So those are some of the kinds of relationships that we build with folks. And it's not just me. Every advisor in this office has done similar things with people. And I just love hearing those stories. And I guess that is a surprising part as well, just how much we get to know somebody and be invited into their lives. Really exciting.
Well, and like I said, I came up with the ideas for 3 episodes, you and me sitting down, diving into some topics. Other than that, we didn't map out questions. We didn't map out exactly where we go. What you just said, though, really is the perfect segue for what will be our 3rd.
Okay.
So that that'll be coming out a couple episodes later, but we'll record it next week. But that's all about the power of having relationships and people speaking into your life, and having folks that know your stuff, that care about you, that can give you counsel, give you feedback. Because that's a huge piece of what we do. It's a huge piece of anyone who's living a healthy life.
Sure.
I promise you, if you're living a healthy life, you have people speaking into your life. Mm-hmm. You have people that you can go to for counsel, that ask you tough questions, that love you enough to be direct with you, right? And what we do is fill part of that role. Hopefully just one part of that role, right? But that's a huge piece of it. So we'll be diving into that, as well as the other piece, which is roadblocks and that.
Cool. Well, thanks, Logan. We'll see you on the next one of these this 3-part series.
That's right. I'll probably see you in the hallway going to the lunchroom.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the listeners will see us then.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. We hope this episode has been inspiring and beneficial to you. If you want help on your journey to financial freedom, reach out to us at veritasalaska.com. We'd love to sit down over a cup of coffee with you, either here in our office or virtually, and get to know you and your needs. And though this podcast is free of charge, we do ask that you please do us 2 quick favors. If you enjoyed the episode, give our pod a great rating on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you use, and also give us a follow on Instagram. We hope you have a wonderful day filled with gratitude and intentionality. God bless.